All right, everybody, it looks like we're ready for number 6, the last scenario on our Excel report. I'm sure you're very excited. We're going to go ahead and take a look at one of Elon Musk's many business adventures. Relative to most of his business adventures, this was a very small one. So let's have a look. We're going to look at a function here. This P of X means the profit according to the sales of Elon Musk's flamethrowers. Some of you might have heard of Elon Musk's flamethrowers, but this function is going to represent his profit depending on how many flamethrowers he sells, where X is going to be the number of flamethrowers and P means profit, and P of X means profit according to sales. So let's go ahead and type this in here since you've already heard me say it, I think 3 or 4 times. All right, I have the profit according to the sales, and now I have a function that represents the profit according to the sales. So I'm going to actually just copy this entire function right out of my document and paste it right below where I typed profit according to sales. This cell, for some reason, is wrapped. I'm going to unwrap it. I don't want it wrapped because I want to see that whole function laid out there. All right, now I am ready to build a table. Also, you can see in Excel, I lost my little squared, my power. I lost my power in Excel. Actually, Excel's given me lots of power. I love Excel. But in this case, Excel took my power. So I am going to put it back in by using Shift-6, this little caret key here. And that's not in the right place because that goes on the other side of the X. All right. I'm not sure why it keeps wrapping my cell, but I want to unwrap it again. All right, now I am going to create a table, a T-chart. Some of you have created T-charts before, and you might recall that T-charts include an X column and a Y column. That's commonly what we call them. And the X represents the input, and the Y represents the output. In this case, our input is the number of sales. How many flamethrowers did we sell, or did Elon sell? And the output is going to be our profit. So I just labeled these with all of the information because I want you guys to remember what we call all this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and center all of this. I'm going to make my sales and my profit. That's what I really want to see, the sales and profit. I'm just going to make that a little bigger and color it blue. Putting X and Y and input output is just to show you what those things mean. Now, what is the absolute least minimum number of flamethrowers Elon will sell? Well, 0. He's not going to sell any negative numbers of flamethrowers. Although if we put negative values in here, our graph would be more interesting. But we're not looking at interesting shapes of graphs right now. We're actually looking at profits according to sales. We're going to say that Musk is going to sell these things 20 at a time. So I'm going to make my next number a 20. Now I'm going to select those two numbers and have Excel count by 20s for me. Remember, I just click in the 0 cell right in the middle of it, hold down my mouse and drag it to the next cell, unclick. Now I am going to move my cursor. My finger is no longer pressing the mouse. Move my cursor, a little black cross, onto that bottom right-hand corner, and I'm going to drag it down until I get to 1,000. So let's see, where are we here? 800, 900, 1,000. All right, now let's go back up. That's our sales. And now let's look at our profit. For our profit, we have a function. We have equals 6.212. And now you see up here on my function where I have this X value. The X value, that means times X. So that's going to be times, and my X is right here, this 0. And then that value, Shift-6, gives me my caret key, squared. So here I have exactly the same thing we have here, 6.212 times X squared. That's what this says. Minus 1,200 times X. And again, X is this 0 right here. Minus 12,000. All right, I'm going to press enter. Does everybody see what I have here? and I get a negative $12,000. What that means is when 0 flamethrowers were sold, there was a investment of $12,000. And, we do all kinds of things with, talking about intercepts, and this is my y-intercept and plugging in zeros, but we're not going to talk about that here. We're just going to have fun. This first one, we're just going to explore our graph and have some fun with it. Now, I have this formula. Remember how Excel does proximities? So I'm just going to choose that cell and double click. And here it goes all the way down. I'm not sure why this is bold. Probably just because I made profit bold and it's copying what I've done up there. Not really a big deal. But look at all of these formulas. You see how for each one it's plugged in the X value to the left. So that's perfect. I'm going to select this entire column, this entire chart here. I'm going to put some borders around it. All right. I think we are ready for our graph. So I have all of this information. I know I made this small because I'm about to put a graph in here and it's going to take up everything. So I am going to select this chart. Don't select input and output, just start at sales and profit. And then I am going to insert a scatter plot either with smooth lines, or I can choose to put a scatter plot with markers. It's up to you. I'm going to choose smooth lines. It's just much neater. This is a lot of information, so if I put all those markers, it's just going to get real busy on this graph. So let's have a look at our graph here. All right, I'm going to change a couple things. First of all, I'm going to want to put some axes titles. So make sure these axes are titled. This is the amount in dollars. So this is going to be the profit in US dollars. And this is going to be the number of sales. All right, now you're also going to name this. So this is a flamethrower business profit, however you decide to put that on there. All right, the next thing we're going to do is look at our axes. So here, our vertical axis, I'm going to double click on that and come over here, click on your bars if it's not already showing up, and we're going to check out how this thing is labeled. First of all, I have a minimum value here of 1 million, negative 1 million. And I don't go down as far as negative 1 million. The lowest I go here, well, look at our chart. Let's see if I can get this where you can see it better. The lowest I'm going to go, it looks like about negative 70,000. Do you see that? Let's just mark this because we have to mark this anyway. It's part of the assignment. All right, there is my absolute lowest spot because look at the numbers on either side of that. I'm still losing money, but then once I sell 100 flamethrowers, now I start moving up just a little bit. 66,000 is negative 66,000 is more than negative 70,000. Okay, so we know that the lowest we need to go here is 70,000. Let's get our graph back. And my minimum is now going to be about 75,000. My maximum, well, I do go awfully high here. We go all the way to 5 million, but I'm not going to go to 5 million. I'm just going to go to, let's just go to a maximum of 100,000 because we want to be able to see what's on this graph. I know Elon Musk made way more money than this, but we are going to, just look at it from $100,000. Now, I want this graph to count. Right now it's counting by, oh, we're still at 5,000. Okay, that's good. That looks good. All right, everything does look a bit messy. So the other thing that we're going to change is our x-axis. So double click that, click on your bars, axis options, and I want my maximum here to, I'm actually just going to move it to 300. I just want to know how much money did he make when he sold 300 of these things. All right, let's see if that's going to be, I know it does not look great. And what is wrong here? I'll tell you what's wrong. What happened to our graph? Do you guys see it? I put in 75,000 for my minimum, but what was I supposed to put? Negative 75,000. So there's my problem, which isn't really a problem because we just fixed it that easily. Yay, look at this lovely graph that I have. I'm actually going to make it just a little shorter here so that I can maybe get it a little bigger so you guys can see. What a lovely parabola, a nice quadratic function. Now our job here is to label a bunch of spots on this graph. And then of course you're going to name it. I'm sure I've already said that. And we want to label our x-intercept, which is right here, our y-intercept, because this is our y-axis. So this is where the graph intercepts the y-axis. This is where the graph intercepts the x-axis right here. And then this is our lowest point. It looks like right around 100 cells, and we already actually said that right here. So let's mark all of these points. My y-intercept is represented right here when my x value is 0. So in other words, oh, I didn't mean to make that blue. Let's make it pink or orange. What this means is that when I sold 0 flamethrowers, I had an investment of $12,000. So at 0 sales, I was in the hole $12,000. And we're going to insert an illustration, a shape, and you guys can choose any shapes you want here. I'm going to choose, I don't know, I like this thing. All right, so I also see how I did my y-intercept in orange. So I'm also going to fill this shape in with the same color. How about that? Now I have my y-intercept, which is my initial investment, logged in. I'm just going to copy this, Control Charlie, Control Victor, and now I'm going to put this on my lowest spot. So this is the bottom dollar. This is where they lost the most money, and I am going to recolor this to be something more interesting than orange and yellow. Let's give a better contrast. We'll make it green. And I'm also going to fill this little guy in with green. Whoops. Now we see that our bottom dollar on our chart matches the bottom dollar on our graph. While I'm talking about the bottom dollar, I will bring your attention over here to this link. This is a link to Elon Musk. If you want to hear him talk, he's actually talking about Tesla in this video, his one of his other companies. But when he's talking about Tesla, he actually talks about the business model where you make your initial investment and then it feels like it's never going to get better. And then if you just hold out and stay in there with it, you can start bringing your money back up. If you stick in and work hard, which Elon does go on to say that many people do not go on and work hard. And if you're just interested in the flamethrower business, here's another link. So you can use those 2 links if you want to. But I do encourage you to look at the business model. It's kind of neat to hear him talk about this actual parabola right on a video. All right, now what else are we supposed to mark here? Our x-intercept. I don't even like to think about it as an x-intercept because really what we're seeing here is where the company broke even. Where the graph crosses the horizontal axis is where we had a 0 profit. So we neither lost nor gained money at that point. Whoops, you have to be careful because now that you have those little points, if you move stuff or make it bigger, it will move with it until we can group it all together. But let's finish out here. So let's see, where is my dollar amount 0? Speaking of dollar amounts, there's something else I meant to do here with this graph. So I am just going to select this entire column. I wish I would have done this previously, but I do like, for aesthetics and easier understanding, to have everything marked as correctly as possible. So here I would like to use my currency and turn it into dollars, which it automatically did US dollars for me. And see how that changed on my graph and everything? I just have to move my little kapow symbols over. All right, now I want to know where was the break-even point. Well, if you look here at your chart, your break-even point happened somewhere between 200 and 220 flamethrowers. And I know that because at 200 flamethrowers, I was still negative. So at 200 flamethrowers, I was still below this horizontal axis. But at 220 flamethrowers, I got above the horizontal axis, actually quite a bit above it. So what I'm going to do is mark the spot on my graph with another little kapow. I don't know what they're called, but it looks like a kapow thing to me. So where did they break even? Well, the break even point was right here at 0. And we actually counted these flamethrowers by 20s. So it's somewhere between 20 and 220. Would you like to see how to find out exactly where it is between there? It's kind of a fun, interesting thing to do. But I don't know. Should we? I'm just going to select these cells right here and paste them right here into some blank spot. I'm just kind of showing you something neat here. It looks like I need to widen this. So right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to count these. This is just 200 to 220. So I'm actually going to make this be 201. All right, now I am going to copy these two cells and drag it down. What did I say it had to go to? 220. Drag it down to 220. And then I am going to double click this. And now look, I can see that it was exactly at when I sold 203 flamethrowers is when I broke even. You see that? It went from negative to positive. So right at, and why it did this, skipping every other one with the color isn't really important. I don't know. It was because the way I selected it. But do you see that at 203 flamethrowers is right where I got over the even part? And you do have to keep moving these little things. It's frustrating. What did we say? 203? And look at our graph here. You can clearly see it in the graph. Here at 200, and then right at about 203, you can see we broke even. So the graph is very accurate. Our table and our graph are all meeting together here. Now, the last thing that it asks us to find is where the investment, where Elon had to sell. How many flamethrowers did Elon have to sell to make a profit of 90,000, 90K, 90 grand, 90,000? So I'm going to look at my chart over here and try to see where is 90,000. Well, it looks like it's somewhere between 240 and 260. So right here at 260, I'm going to highlight that. Some other color. I guess I'll use this cool blue, which I should use more often. And then at 90,000, it's close to 260. So I'm just going to use that value. Change my little Kapowie symbol to the same color as that. And all the way up at 90,000, what did we say about 260? Well, 90 is a little outside of this graph. I don't know why. Did I only go to 85? No, I went to 100,000. So it's just not showing, but that's okay because I know that it's right up here. 85, 90,000 right there. So at 90,000, take this point down, follow it down vertically, and you'll hit right at about 260. All right, now I get to change all my little symbols again. You're going to be doing this too. Until you can select your graph and select each of these little symbols. If you want to do this, right-click and group. Now you can move this all around. Whoops, I actually moved the wrong thing. Now you can move your graph around and your dots still do not come with it, which is fine. It just didn't work for some reason. Okay, there we are, you guys. You guys are gonna, don't forget your report. You need at least a 5-sentence report for each of your scenarios. And for this one, everything that you should put on your report we discussed, and it is also right in here. And if you do watch the Elon Musk video, talk about that in your report. It's pretty neat. All right, guys, that's the end of our Excel video. Congratulations, you made it through. Woohoo!